Have you ever wondered if your mind is far more powerful than you've been told? What if I told you that the thoughts you think, the insights you receive, and even the dreams that feel like whispers from another world are not just random impulses, but signals from something far greater, something vast, infinite, and deeply connected to the very fabric of reality? They don't want you to know this, but the mind you use every day, the logical, analytical, problem-solving mind, is just the tip of the iceberg. Beneath it lies a deeper intelligence, a hidden superpower that few ever access. It's been called by many names throughout history: universal mind, higher self, divine intelligence. But today, science and spirituality are converging on one truth. This is the realm of the superconscious mind. For thousands of years, sages, mystics, and enlightened beings have spoken of a mental state beyond ordinary thought, an intelligence that isn't trapped in personal identity, but instead connects all minds, all knowledge, all time. Carl Jung called it the collective unconscious. Nikola Tesla described it as the source of all invention, and quantum physicists today are beginning to recognize it as a field of infinite potential. But what does this mean for you? It means that every great breakthrough in history, the moments of genius, the flashes of intuition, the works of art that seem to emerge from nowhere, came not from the limited conscious mind, but from superconsciousness, a state where time, space, and limitation dissolve, and something beyond thought begins to flow through you. But here's the secret that has been buried. You don't have to be a mystic, a scientist, or a genius to tap into this power. You already have access to it. In fact, you've experienced it before, even if you didn't realize it. Think about the moments in your life when you've known something before it happened, when an idea appeared in your mind fully formed, when a solution came to you without effort. This was not an accident. It was superconsciousness speaking to you, nudging you, guiding you. But most people ignore it. Why? Because we've been conditioned to believe that our thoughts are the highest form of intelligence, that only what we can measure, analyze, and explain is real. But what if I told you that the conscious mind, this thinking, reasoning machine we rely on, is actually the smallest part of your intelligence? Right now, your conscious mind is like a flashlight in a vast, endless universe. It illuminates only what's directly in front of you, while everything else remains unseen. But beyond this narrow beam of awareness lies something unimaginable. A boundless, interconnected intelligence that holds every idea, every solution, and every answer you've ever sought. And the best part? It's not separate from you, it is you. The conscious mind, the part of you that thinks, worries, plans, and doubts, is just one layer of a much larger reality. Beneath it lies the subconscious mind, the storage house of your memories, habits, and emotional patterns. But beyond even that, above it, beyond it, around it, is the superconscious mind, the source of your deepest intuition, your most profound creativity, and the intelligence that governs not just your individual life, but the evolution of humanity itself. This is why scientific discoveries have appeared simultaneously in different parts of the world, why multiple inventors have stumbled upon the same breakthrough at the same time, why music, art, and literature have carried the same messages across cultures and civilizations. Because there is a mind beyond the mind, a consciousness that we all share. And here's where it gets even more extraordinary. The more we awaken to this field, the more humanity as a whole begins to evolve. This is not just about personal enlightenment. This is about the future of our species. For too long, we have been trapped in the limitations of the ego, the small, separate identity that believes it must fight, struggle, and compete to survive. This has created wars, division, and suffering. But something is shifting. More people are waking up. More people are sensing that there is something beyond the personal mind. What if our next evolutionary step is not technological but mental? Not about building machines but awakening our own latent abilities? What if the future of humanity depends on how many people can access superconsciousness? Because when you do, when you learn to quiet the noise of the conscious mind and enter the higher field of awareness, everything changes. You no longer think about solutions, they come to you. You no longer struggle to make sense of life. Clarity arises naturally. You no longer feel alone. You realize that you are connected to something vast, intelligent, and filled with limitless possibilities. This is what the great visionaries, prophets, and enlightened minds have always known. And now, for the first time in human history, we have the science to back it up. But knowing this is not enough. You must learn how to tap into it. And here's the truth. It is far simpler than you've been led to believe. It is not something you must achieve. It is something you must remember. Because the moment you stop trying to grasp, to force, to analyze, you allow the higher intelligence to flow through you. This is the greatest shift you will ever make. From a mind that struggles to a mind that receives. From effort to flow. From limitation to superconsciousness. The question is not whether this intelligence exists. The question is, are you ready to access it? You've been taught to believe that intelligence is something inside your head, that your mind is like a machine capable of learning, processing and analyzing, but ultimately limited by the structure of your brain. But what if that was the greatest lie of all? What if intelligence isn't something you possess, but something you tap into? Throughout history, humanity's greatest thinkers, mystics, and innovators have described moments of sudden revelation. Ideas that appeared as if they had come from another realm. Tesla spoke of receiving inventions in his mind fully formed. Einstein credited his greatest discoveries to imagination and intuition rather than logic. Mozart claimed he didn't compose music, he simply heard it and transcribed it. They weren't making this up. They were tapping into something real, a hidden intelligence beyond the individual mind. This is the superconscious mind. The infinite field of intelligence that has always been available to you. The problem is, most people never access it. Not because they can't, but because they've been conditioned to rely only on their conscious mind, the part that doubts, overthinks, and questions every step of the way. Right now, your conscious mind is like an antenna that is only tuned to a single station. It picks up the everyday noise of thoughts, worries, and endless inner chatter. But beyond this static, there is a vast frequency of intelligence, ideas, inspirations, solutions, just waiting for you to listen. So the real question is, how do you tune in? How do you access superconsciousness? The answer is simpler than you think. You do not force it, you allow it. Think about the moments when inspiration has struck you. It wasn't when you were overanalyzing or trying to figure things out. It was when your mind was relaxed, open and receptive. Maybe you were walking, dreaming, meditating, or simply sitting in silence. In these moments, something beyond thought entered your awareness. A sudden knowing, a clear insight, a flash of understanding. This is the nature of the superconscious mind. It does not speak in the language of logic. It speaks in intuition, in symbols, in sudden downloads of information. And the more you create space for it, the more it will guide you. The first step is quieting the noise of the conscious mind. Meditation is not just about relaxation, it is a gateway to higher intelligence. When you sit in stillness, observing your thoughts without attachment, something incredible happens. The mind begins to settle, the constant chatter fades, and in that space, something higher can emerge. Many of the world's most enlightened beings, from Buddha to Ramana Maharshi, have pointed to deep silence as the doorway to truth, and now science is beginning to confirm what they have always known. Studies on advanced meditators show heightened brain coherence, increased intuition, and even access to information beyond ordinary perception. But you don't need years of training to access this. You only need to stop resisting stillness. The second step is trusting the intelligence that flows through you. Most people dismiss their intuitive insights, their inner knowings, their gut feelings, because they cannot explain them logically. But what if logic is not the highest form of intelligence? What if the mind that tries to explain everything is actually blocking you from receiving deeper knowledge? Ancient wisdom traditions describe this as surrendered knowing. It means letting go of the need to control, to force, to figure everything out. Instead, you trust that the answers will come exactly when you need them. And they will. Because here's the truth. The universe is not separate from you. You are part of the same intelligence that moves the planets. that grows the trees, that orchestrates life itself. You were never meant to struggle to understand. You were meant to align with the greater intelligence that is already flowing through you. The third step is asking without attachment. When you seek guidance from the superconscious mind, do not demand answers. Instead, ask and release. The moment you let go of the need for an immediate response, the answer will come, not through effort, but through clarity. Many ancient cultures understood this principle. The Vedic tradition speaks of receiving knowledge through deep surrender. The Taoists describe the highest wisdom as something that emerges effortlessly, like water flowing downhill. And today, quantum physics is beginning to echo these ancient truths. Experiments suggest that consciousness itself may be non-local, that your mind is not confined to your brain, but is connected to a field of infinite possibilities. So the question is no longer whether superconsciousness exists. The question is whether you are willing to access it. Imagine for a moment that your mind was no longer trapped in the limits of logic and thought. Imagine that solutions appeared effortlessly, that creativity flowed through you, that you felt deeply connected to something beyond yourself. This is not a fantasy, this is the next step in human evolution. And it's already happening. More people than ever before are awakening to this reality. More people are realizing that they are not separate, not small, not powerless, that they are connected to something infinite. And as more individuals access this state, something incredible is beginning to unfold. Humanity is shifting. The world as we know it, based on competition, fear, and separation, is built on the old paradigm of limited consciousness. But something new is emerging, a collective awakening, a future where we no longer see ourselves as isolated beings, but as one unified field of intelligence. This is why you are here. This is why you are hearing these words. Because deep down, you have always known this truth. You have always sensed that your mind is capable of more, that your consciousness is far greater than what you have been taught. And now the choice is yours. Will you remain trapped in the small, limited version of yourself? Or will you step into your highest intelligence, the mind beyond the mind, the intelligence that flows through everything, the superconsciousness that has been waiting for you all along? Because once you awaken to it, nothing will ever be the same again. Right now you are standing at the edge of something vast, something beyond words, beyond thought, beyond everything you have ever known. And yet, it has always been here, watching, waiting, whispering to you in moments of silence, in flashes of inspiration, in the quiet pull of intuition that you may have ignored 1,000 times before. But what happens when you stop ignoring it? What happens when you finally listen? The truth is, you are not just a thinker, you are a receiver, a transmitter of infinite intelligence. Your mind is not a closed system, limited to the knowledge it has collected from books, experiences, and education. It is an antenna, capable of tuning into a field of consciousness far beyond its individual capacity. This is where breakthroughs are born. This is where the greatest inventions, the most profound art, the deepest wisdom of humanity comes from. The superconscious mind does not work through effort. It works through surrender. It works through stillness. It works through the spaces between thoughts, where the mind is no longer bound by logic and instead becomes a vessel for something greater. Think about the greatest insights in human history. They did not come through force. They did not come through analysis. They came in moments of effortless clarity. Archimedes stepping into a bath and suddenly understanding the principle of buoyancy. Tesla receiving entire blueprints for his inventions in flashes of light. Newton sitting beneath a tree, not actively searching for an answer but simply being, when the concept of gravity revealed itself to him. This is the nature of the superconscious mind. It does not demand, it does not struggle, it simply knows. The only thing that blocks you from this state is your attachment to the small, conditioned mind, the part of you that believes intelligence is something to be accumulated rather than something to be received, the part that believes wisdom is the result of effort rather than the natural state of an open and attuned mind. The moment you begin to trust this intelligence, you will see the shift. Ideas will come effortlessly. Answers will arrive before you even form the question. Paths will reveal themselves without the need for force. Because you are no longer working against the natural intelligence of the universe, you are working with it. And this is where the greatest transformation begins. Because when you tap into superconsciousness, it doesn't just change you, it changes the world. Humanity has always been evolving. Not just physically, but mentally, spiritually, consciously. There was a time when survival was all that mattered, a time when instinct ruled, when the human mind existed only to react, to protect, to ensure its own continuation. Then came reason, logic, thought, the ability to plan, to analyze, to build civilizations. But this was never the final step. The next step, the step we are now on the edge of, is the awakening of a collective superconsciousness, a state where humanity no longer operates from fear, division, and struggle, but from a deep and unified intelligence that transcends the individual mind. You can already see it happening. More and more people are feeling the shift. More and more are sensing that something is changing, that the way we have lived, the way we have struggled, the way we have fought, the way we have separated ourselves from each other, is no longer sustainable. There is a new awareness emerging, a new way of seeing the world, not as something to conquer, not as something to fear, but as something deeply interconnected, something whole. This is why the old systems are breaking down. This is why the structures that were built on limitation and separation are beginning to crumble, because they were never meant to last, because something greater is taking their place. But the shift does not begin in governments. It does not begin in institutions. It does not begin in laws. It begins in the mind. It begins in the quiet decision of an individual, you, right now, to step beyond the small, limited version of yourself and into the infinite intelligence that has always been waiting for you. Because the truth is, the world does not change when the system changes. The world changes when enough minds awaken. And you are not separate from this process. You are not just a witness to this evolution. You are a part of it. Right now you have a choice. You can remain within the boundaries of the mind that was conditioned by society, the mind that overthinks, that doubts, that clings to the old ways of understanding. Or you can step into something greater. You can choose to quiet the noise, to listen to the intelligence that has always been speaking to you, to trust in something beyond logic, beyond doubt, beyond the illusion of separation. Because once you do, once you open yourself to this level of awareness, you will see that the struggles, the fears, the limitations you once believed in were never real. They were only shadows cast by a mind that had forgotten its own infinite nature. You were never small, you were never alone, you were always connected to something vast, something beyond time, beyond space, beyond everything you were ever taught to believe. This is superconsciousness. And once you step into it, once you truly experience it, nothing will ever be the same again. If you could tap into a mind beyond your own, a mind that holds every answer, every possibility, every truth, what would you ask? Would you ask how to overcome the struggles in your life? Would you ask about the purpose of your existence? Would you ask about the future of humanity? Or would you simply listen and allow the answer to come? Because that is the nature of the superconscious mind. It does not respond to force. It does not respond to demand. It responds to stillness, to openness, to a mind that has learned how to receive rather than control. And this is what the world has forgotten. For too long, humanity has relied only on intellect, on effort, on struggle. We have built our societies, our systems, and our very way of life around the idea that intelligence is something we must create, something we must work for. But what if the greatest intelligence is already here, already flowing through every moment, already waiting to be accessed? The ancient sages knew this. They spoke of it in whispers, in metaphors, in texts that were buried, lost, and suppressed over time. They called it the Akashic field, the collective unconscious, the mind of God. But this is not just philosophy. This is something real, something tangible, something that can be experienced. Imagine for a moment that you are standing on the shore of a vast ocean. The conscious mind is like a small cup, scooping up tiny portions of water, believing that what it holds is all that exists. But the superconscious mind does not take small portions. It dissolves the cup entirely. It becomes the ocean itself. And when you realize this, when you begin to operate from this awareness, your life changes in ways you cannot yet imagine. You no longer search for solutions, you allow them to emerge. You no longer chase clarity. It arises effortlessly. You no longer fight against life, you move with it. Because the moment you stop resisting, the moment you stop grasping, the moment you trust, you awaken to the truth that was always there. That the intelligence you have been seeking has always been seeking you. And this is where humanity's greatest transformation begins. Because what happens when millions of people awaken to this truth? What happens when humanity no longer sees itself as fragmented, as separate, as small? We begin to experience something we have never known before. A world without division. A world without conflict. A world where solutions arise not from struggle, but from insight. A world where breakthroughs in science, medicine, and technology do not come from competition, but from a shared intelligence, a collective knowing. This is not an ideal, this is not utopia, this is the natural evolution of consciousness. Because for too long we have been trapped in a paradigm of scarcity. Scarcity of resources, scarcity of time, scarcity of knowledge. But scarcity is an illusion created by the limited mind. When you expand beyond it, you see the truth. There is no lack, there is no separation, there is only one intelligence, expressing itself through billions of forms, waiting for us to remember who we truly are. And this is why you are here. This is why you are hearing these words. Because something inside you has always known this truth. Something inside you has always felt the pull, the whisper, the calling, the knowing that there is something more, that you are something more. And now you stand at a crossroads. You can remain in the old way of thinking, the way of struggle, of limitation, of believing that you must do everything alone. Or you can step into something greater. You can choose to open yourself to the intelligence that has always been there. You can choose to quiet the noise, to listen, to trust. Because once you do, life becomes effortless, not because challenges disappear, but because you no longer see them as obstacles. You see them as opportunities to grow, to expand, to move deeper into alignment with the greater intelligence that is guiding all things. And this is what the future holds, not just for you, but for all of us. A world where we do not operate from fear, but from wisdom. A world where we do not seek knowledge, but allow it to flow through us. A world where the boundaries between self and other dissolve and we finally see reality for what it is. One mind, one intelligence, one infinite field of consciousness experiencing itself through all things. This is superconsciousness, and once you experience it, once you awaken to it, there is no going back. Everything in existence is connected. Every thought, every action, every movement of energy ripples through the fabric of reality, influencing what comes next. And when you begin to awaken to this, when you begin to see beyond the illusion of separation, you step into a power far greater than anything the mind alone could ever grasp. You are not just a thinker. You are not just an individual navigating through life, making choices, solving problems, and reacting to circumstances. You are a node in a vast intelligence network, a receiver of universal wisdom, a participant in a collective awakening that is unfolding right now, in this very moment. Superconsciousness is not some distant mystical idea. It is not something that belongs only to enlightened beings or scientific geniuses. It is the natural state of all human beings, waiting to be remembered. And once you remember, you will see that you were never limited, never alone, never without guidance. The greatest minds throughout history have known this truth. They may not have used the same words, but they all pointed to the same reality. That beyond the small personal mind there is something greater, something that fuels inspiration, that delivers breakthroughs, that guides humanity forward. Think of every major leap in history, the great scientific discoveries, the revolutions in thought, the quantum leaps in technology and understanding. These did not come from isolated individuals struggling in solitude. They came from a field of intelligence, one that many people tapped into at the same time, receiving the same ideas, the same visions, the same intuitive downloads. Have you ever wondered why so many of the world's greatest discoveries happened simultaneously in different parts of the world? Why multiple scientists, inventors, and artists arrived at the same breakthroughs at nearly the same moment? The theory of evolution, the discovery of electricity, the rise of quantum mechanics, all of these arose in multiple minds, as if they were being transmitted from a higher source, because they were. The world you see today, the technology, the innovation, the incredible advancements in science, are all the result of the collective mind accessing something beyond itself. A superconscious field of intelligence that does not belong to any one person but to all of humanity. And this is why your awakening matters. Because the more people who tap into this intelligence, the faster the world evolves. The faster we move beyond struggle, beyond division, beyond the illusion of separation. Imagine a world where inspiration is not rare but constant. A world where solutions arise effortlessly. A world where creativity is limitless, because we no longer believe in limitation. This is not fantasy. This is the next step in human evolution, and it is happening right now. More and more people are beginning to experience the shift. They are sensing that reality is not as rigid as they once believed. They are realizing that thoughts, emotions, and intentions have power beyond what was once understood. They are stepping into a new level of awareness, one that makes the old ways of thinking obsolete. The world is changing, you can feel it. The structures that once ruled society, built on fear, control, and separation, are beginning to crumble, and in their place, something new is emerging. A new kind of intelligence, a new way of being, a new understanding of what it means to be human. This is not the end, this is the beginning, and you are here for a reason. You are part of this shift. You are part of this awakening. Superconsciousness is not something outside of you. It is not something you must learn or achieve. It is something that has always been within you, waiting for the moment when you would finally stop looking outside for answers and start looking within. And once you do, once you truly see, truly listen, truly surrender to the intelligence that has been calling you all along, your life will never be the same again. Because the truth is, the world does not transform when governments change. It does not transform when new technologies are created. It transforms when people wake up, when enough individuals remember that they are more than their thoughts, more than their identities, more than the small mind they were conditioned to believe in. And this is happening now. The only question is, will you step into it? Will you embrace the intelligence that has always been flowing through you? Will you allow yourself to trust the wisdom that arises without doubting, without resisting, without trying to force things back into the old paradigm of thinking? Because once you do, you will see that the struggles, the fears, the limitations, they were never real. They were only the shadows of a mind that had forgotten its own infinite nature. But now you remember. Now you see, and the world will never trouble you again.